That was my first mistake. I remember the sound of glasses clinking. Crystal. Expensive. Perfect. Just like him. Adrian Vale. Billionaire CEO. Media darling. Business genius. And my husband. He stood on stage beneath golden lights, sharp in his tailored suit, voice calm and confident. To loyalty, he said, raising his glass. To trust. To the people who stand beside us when building something extraordinary. The room applauded. I smiled. I always smiled. I was Alara Vale. 27 years old, soft-spoken, graceful, the perfect wife. I hosted charity dinners. I wore silk gowns. I laughed gently at investors' jokes. I let people believe I had nothing more in my head than dinner menus and flower arrangements, letting them think I was harmless. But tonight, while applause echoed through the ballroom, my phone vibrated inside my clutch. Once, twice, 3 times. I excused myself quietly. No one noticed, no one ever did. I stepped into the hallway outside the ballroom. The music faded. The lights felt colder. I checked my phone. An unknown international number. A photo. I opened it. My breath did not stop. My hands did not shake. I simply stared. It was Adrian, shirt half-buttoned, smiling in a way he never smiled at me, wrapped around a woman I had never seen before. She was beautiful, elegant. Dark hair falling over bare shoulders, champagne in her hand, city lights behind them. The caption below the photo read, "Is this your husband?" Another message followed. I think he's lying to both of us. I did not cry. I did not panic. Instead, something colder moved through me. Clarity. Adrian thought I depended on him. He believed I left my career to be his wife. He liked that story. It made him feel powerful. What he never knew, I graduated top of my class from Wharton. My father owns 3 international investment firms. My godfather sits on 2 global regulatory boards. And I understand numbers better than Adrian ever will. But I never told him everything. Because men like Adrian reveal themselves when they think you are small. And I was waiting. I just didn't know for what. Until now. The woman texted again. My name is Aurelia Laurent. Paris. Of course. I searched her name. High society, fashion philanthropy, elite galas, magazine features, 25 years old, sophisticated, polished, and everywhere online, Soonu, alone. No sign of Adrian. Careful man, very careful, I typed back. Tell me what you think he told you. 3 dots appeared. He said he's not married. Of course he did. He said his last relationship ended 2 years ago. I leaned against the cold marble wall. So he lives alone? I asked. Yes. He visits Paris often. We've been together for 11 months. 11 months. Our anniversary dinner flashed in my mind. The diamond bracelet, the speech about love. I smiled to myself. Impressive, Adrian. Balancing 2 worlds. Until they touched. The truth came from something simple. A gift. 2 days before the gala, a jewelry box had arrived at our home. Addressed to Adrian. He told me it was for a client. But when I saw the same necklace around Aurelia's neck in one of her photos, I recognized the rare emerald cut. Limited edition. Only 3 made. He had sent it to the wrong address first. Sloppy. Men grow careless when they feel untouchable. Video call, Aurelia wrote. I hesitated for 1 second. Then I answered. Her face filled the screen. She looked composed, but her eyes were red. I didn't know, she said quickly. I swear I didn't. I know, I replied. Silence. She studied me. You're not what I expected. I smiled softly. Most people say that. She laughed once, dry. He told me he was building a future with me. He told me I was his piece. Her expression hardened. He said that to you too? Yes. We both went quiet. That was the moment. Not anger, not jealousy. Recognition. We were not enemies. We were investments. And he thought he owned us. 2 weeks later, I flew to Paris. Alone. Adrian believed I was visiting my mother. He kissed my forehead before I left. Don't worry about business, he said. Just relax. I almost laughed. Aurelia met me at a private lounge overlooking the Seine. She wore cream, simple, elegant. She stood when I approached. For a moment, we just looked at each other. Two women connected by the same lie. I'm sorry, she said first. So am I. We sat, and then we began comparing stories, dates, flights, excuses. Every lie aligned perfectly. He had a system, a schedule, even shared phrases. When Aurelia showed me the penthouse he rented in Paris, under a shell company, I understood something bigger. He wasn't just cheating, he was hiding assets, large ones, and that changed everything. Do you want revenge? Aurelia asked calmly. I sipped my tea. No. She looked surprised. I want correction. She tilted her head. What does that mean? It means, I said softly, he built an empire on control. Let's remove it. That was the beginning. Adrian's company was preparing for its biggest expansion yet, a global acquisition that would push his stock to record highs. The shareholders' meeting was scheduled in 3 months. He would announce it live. Confidence, power, celebration, perfect stage. But here is what Adrian never understood. Empires don't fall from the outside. They collapse from pressure within. Aurelia had access to the Paris Shell Company records. I had access to his domestic accounts. Together, we started tracing movement. Hidden transfers, misreported assets, offshore leverage. Nothing illegal at first glance, but aggressive, risky, and not disclosed to the board, which made it dangerous, very dangerous. My godfather once told me, never attack the king first, speak to the council. So I did, quietly, through private channels. I requested a confidential review of certain risk exposures. I didn't accuse, I questioned. Board members do not like surprises, especially financial ones, especially before a global expansion. Within weeks, tension grew inside the company. Adrian felt it. I could see it at dinner. They're nervous, he said one night, frustrated. They don't understand vision. I touched his hand gently. You'll handle it, I said sweetly. He smiled. He still thought I was decoration. 2 days before the shareholders' meeting, a financial blog published an article questioning hidden offshore exposure connected to a subsidiary in Paris. Anonymous source. Speculation. But enough to cause noise. Stock dipped. Adrian blamed competitors. He never looked at me. The ballroom was larger than the last one. Global press, investors, board members. Adrian stood at the podium, confident. We are stronger than ever, he declared. Then a board member interrupted. Before expansion, we require clarification on certain undisclosed liabilities. His expression changed. Small, but visible. Documents appeared on screen. Shell companies, transfers, exposure. Questions. More questions, the press murmured. Stock ticker behind him began to shift. Down, down, down. He looked toward the front row. At me. I stood slowly. Aurelia stepped beside me. Gasps filled the room. He went pale. Ilara? He whispered. I met his eyes, calm, unshaken. You built your empire on control, I said clearly, my voice carrying across the silent room. You should have learned to control your lies. Cameras flashed. Board members conferred. Within an hour, emergency vote. Temporary removal pending investigation. Stock collapsed 12% before closing. By morning, it would be 23 and still falling. He called me 52 times. I did not answer. Instead, I filed for divorce. With evidence, with leverage, with silence. Aurelia returned to Paris, but not as his secret, as my partner in a new venture, because powerful women do not destroy each other. They build alliances. Adrian once said I was his piece. He was wrong. I was his lesson. He thought I was standing beside him. I was standing behind him. And that is the most dangerous place to be. The morning after the shareholders' meeting, Adrian's face was everywhere. Not in celebration. In shock. CEO under investigation. Board questions financial transparency. Stock plunges 23%. I watched the news from our breakfast room, the same room where he once told me I was lucky to live this life. He hadn't come home. Of course he hadn't. Men like Adrian do not retreat to face consequences. They retreat to plan damage control. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. You think this is funny? His voice was low, dangerous. No, I replied calmly. I think it's accurate. Silence. Then, you embarrassed me. I almost smiled. You embarrassed yourself. He exhaled sharply. You have no idea what you've done. I know exactly what I've done. And I hung up. For the first time in our marriage, Adrian was reacting. Not leading, reacting. The board had launched a formal review. Regulatory eyes were circling. Investors were demanding clarity. The press smelled blood. But what truly scared him wasn't the investigation. It was uncertainty. And I was the source of it. I packed a small suitcase that afternoon. Not in anger, in precision. When he finally came home that evening, he found me in the living room, dressed simply, papers laid neatly on the table. Alara, he began carefully, this has gone far enough. Has it? I asked softly. He glanced at the documents. Divorce filings, asset freezes, formal request for forensic accounting. His jaw tightened. You're overreacting. I looked at him the way you look at a stranger who once shared your bed. 11 months, I said. That's not an overreaction. His eyes flickered, so he knew. You don't understand, he tried. It wasn't serious. I stood slowly. It was systematic. That word hit him harder, because it was true. You think your family can protect you? He asked, voice dropping. You think connections scare me? I stepped closer. No, I said. I think facts do. He studied me then. Really studied me. And I saw it. The moment realization entered his eyes. He had never known me, not fully. You planned this, he whispered. No, I corrected gently. You did. Meanwhile, in Paris, Aurelia was not hiding. She attended a charity gala 2 nights later, alone. Photographers asked questions. Is it true you were involved with Adrian Vale? She paused just long enough. I was involved with a man who misrepresented himself, she said calmly. I prefer honesty. The clip went viral within hours. Her composure became the story. 2 women, no scandal, no fighting, just intelligence. That unsettled people, and it terrified him. Adrian called an emergency board meeting. He tried to explain the shell companies. Strategic positioning, he insisted. But one director interrupted. Why were these exposures not disclosed prior to expansion? Another added. Why was the Paris property registered under a holding entity not reported in quarterly filings? His answers were smooth, but not solid. Confidence without transparency begins to look like guilt. The vote came quietly. Temporary removal became indefinite suspension. He was no longer CEO, just Adrian. And Adrian without power was simply a man who made mistakes. He hired the best lawyers in the country. So did I. The difference? Mine knew everything. Every transfer, every hidden asset, every international movement, because I had already traced them. You were watching me, he accused during mediation. Yes, I answered. You never trusted me. No, I corrected. I verified you. That line made the mediator look up, because reputation was the one thing he valued most. 2 weeks into proceedings, regulators formally opened inquiries into undisclosed liabilities. Investors filed a class action lawsuit. The stock dropped again. Banks tightened credit. Expansion collapsed. Competitors circled. His empire, once solid steel, now sounded hollow when tapped. And then came the final blow. He came to see me one last time. Not angry, not shouting, just tired. You could have just left, he said quietly. I did, I replied. He shook his head. You didn't have to destroy everything. I looked around the empty house. You destroyed it, I said softly. I just turned on the lights. He stepped closer. For a moment, he said, voice almost breaking. Did you ever love me? I paused, and that pause was answer enough. I loved the man you pretended to be. He closed his eyes. That hurt him, more than the board, more than the headlines, because deep down, he knew it was true. 3 months later, the divorce finalized. Fair settlement, more than fair. I did not take everything. I didn't need to. My family's influence remained intact. My reputation? Untouched. Aurelia and I launched a private investment firm shortly after. Discreet, strategic, focused on ethical acquisitions. Investors came quickly. They always do when intelligence is paired with discipline. At our launch event in London, a reporter asked me, "Do you regret how everything unfolded?" I smiled gently. "No," I said. "I regret underestimating myself for so long." Cameras flashed, but this time I wasn't standing behind anyone. Months later, I saw Adrian at a private members club. No entourage, no security, just a man nursing a drink. He looked older, smaller. He saw me, stood up slightly. "Elara!" His voice carried history, but no power. I nodded politely. "How are you?" he asked. "Free," I answered. There was nothing else to say, because revenge isn't loud, it's final. He thought I was dependent. He thought I was silent. He thought I was his. He was wrong. I was never standing beside him. I was studying him. And when the time came, I closed the book.